So we can get
Okay,
a
we're now
copy
recording.
of it?
Sure,
Perfect.
yep, I can send it to you tomorrow.
Excellent.
Sure, just making myself a note so that I don't forget. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay, so now I'm going to be sending out reminders for this meeting. And so just so you know, when you receive a reminder for a meeting, just remember that it's for our, it's for our make-believe case here. You're not actually late for a meeting. So this will be sending you a reminder. And as I mentioned in my pretend example here, it seems like this is going to turn into a case. So I'm clicking this button on the left that says, yes, case. There we go. Okay, so now 3 things just happened. The system made a note that I received an email. It scheduled a calendar item for tomorrow, and then it opened up a new case down here. So I'm going to click on this case, and again, we're looking at a pretty basic case screen, and you can go through here and change the names, you can reorder things, you can remove fields, you can add a field. So it's just to get you started, but if you're looking at this and thinking, gosh, we would never use that field, don't worry. It's very easy to delete fields or to rename them and then to add in all of the fields that you need. So this is just the first step, and then we can show you how to cross the finish line, how to get the system to be exactly what you need. All right. So, as I mentioned, this is the case screen. This is where you'll spend most of your time. And so I'll just indicate that this is a test case.
Okay. Do we have a reference number for a case, like an ID or something?
So again, you can set it up however you want. You can add in another field to keep track of a reference number. You can just use a name, or up here where it says primary, this is always going to be our numbering system, and it will just continue to advance by 1. So every time you add in a new case, it will say case 1, and then case 2, and then case 3. So you're welcome to use this case number, but if there's another reference number you need, for instance, court docket 2016 0607, for instance, you can use whatever number there you need to be able to track your cases.
The naming convention, is it possible to be controlled in the system?
That is something that requires a little bit of customization. So yes, it's possible, and once you decide exactly what you want that to be, then we can talk to the programmer about changing that for you.
Yeah, you know, sometimes if it will be easier if I have the suffix and prefix for the case, including the reference number, including some description about the case. It will be easier for follow-up later on than even the ID reference.
So down the road, that's something that we can talk about, but for now, you'll just have to do that manually.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so scrolling down here, you can see the party information in. Scrolling down a little bit more, this is where I will assign people to a case. So I can assign the arbitrator, I can indicate who the case developer was. And again, you can add as many staff people as you want to this system. And then in here, you can decide how much access do I want them to have. So for instance, if you have an intern or a student that's working with you, then you might want to give them access to be able to see these cases, but not be able to edit anything or to export or delete anything.
You mean parties or participants can have access to them?
Nope, I mean staff.
Staff, only staff. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The only interaction that parties are able to have with the system is we're able to give them access just to this one section so that they are able to upload documents directly into their cases. But that's it. They can't see anything else. They can't delete any documents. They're only able to upload.
Okay. They can't follow up the events or activities. They cannot.
Exactly. Yep. They can't see anything else. Right. Right. Okay. So, all right, we looked at the contact section. Here's where you'll keep track of your participants. Down here is where you will keep track of your staff. Scrolling to the upper right, these are your basic notes for a case. We can indicate what the status is. We'll say active. And waiting for, this is if there's anything that this case is waiting for. For instance, need approval from the second party, or
can you show
waiting
the
on a
list
contract.
of status again, please?
The staff list? Oh, the list of status? Sure.
Yes. So inappropriate, resolve, not resolve, need, intake, party. Okay.
So as I mentioned,
I can manage the value of this status later on, right?
Exactly. Yeah. How about let's just go do that right now.
What about, is there any specific process for each status that it's already developed on the application, or it's just kind of information?
It's really whatever you want. So here's a list of status that came with the system. And can you see any right now that you know you would want to change or that you would want to add?
Okay. What I mean, for example, if it's not resolved, for example, is there any different process that will be automated in the system? That okay,
I
this
understand.
is not.
Nope.
So it's just
nope, not from case status.
Okay.
Okay.
You get what I'm looking for, Dr. Mustafa?
Yeah, yeah. It's good that we can add another fields here. Okay.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So the one thing that is connected, let me show you this. So when I go to a case, if I indicate that the case is closed, then it does change a few things in the system. For instance, the case will then start to show up in different reports. So, and there are different ways that you can view open cases versus closed cases. And so if you do need to have a differentiation between cases, that's how you would want to do it, by this case open or case closed option up here. So that's what will control things as opposed to this status menu. The status menu is just simply for your internal tracking. Yeah. Yeah, and again, as we talk more and I understand a bit more about how your office is going to work, then I can give you some better suggestions about tracking cases and workflow. Yeah.
I prefer if Dr. Mustafa can give a quick brief about our process that we have right now. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you may be familiar with the process. There is the initiation phase, and there's the appointment of arbitrators, mediators, and then there is the hearing or mediation conferences, and the final phase would be the termination of mediation, the final award to be given by the tribunal. This is briefly the phases that a case would go through.
Okay, so I'm going to change one thing based on what you just said. So I'm back in settings, and again, this is something that you have control to do as well. I'm dropping down to activity and calendar types, and you just mentioned hearings and conferences. Are those two different calendar types, or are those the same thing?
Hearing is for arbitration, and the conference is for mediation, because for hearing, it's, I mean, in that arbitration proceeding, we have hearing with witnesses and experts and pleadings, which may take much longer than mediation conferences, which are supposed to be done within maybe one day, or just one or a couple of days, which is different from arbitration. Arbitration's hearing are supposed to take much longer.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. All right. So, all right, so we're back looking at the case screen. And as you mentioned, the next thing that you'll need to do will be, well, first let's figure out what type of case this is. So we can say it's an arbitration, I don't know, arbitration code enforcement case. And then from there, we can, let me go back. In our office, we have all of this debugging information that's always going on at the bottom. Don't worry, you guys won't have to see this. That's just something that I see when I'm in the office. All right. So we identified what type of a case it is. We can upload any documents if we need to. But next, let's go ahead and schedule a hearing. So I clicked Add Calendar Item, and then we can indicate what time the hearing is going to be, about how long we expect it will take. We can assign a certain party. If you're just meeting with one of the parties, you can do it this way. Or we can just check here to indicate that everybody is supposed to show up.
Who is
Coming
everybody?
down, all of the parties and attorneys that have been added to this case. So right now there's test party and test party 2. Those are the 2 participants I have added. And so maybe there are some times where you would just meet with one person. So then you would just select them individually.
Yes.
But if I'm going to be meeting with everybody, then I'll just check that box. And then it, yeah. All right, so coming down here to indicate what type of a meeting this is going to be, I can select conferences or hearing or whatever type of an event this will be. Then I decide who's going to be there. So this is just selecting a staff person. Then I can assign a location. And then finally, any notes to myself or to the parties. Please arrive 15 minutes early. Bring all relevant documents, something like that. And then finally, I just decide if I want to send an email out about this meeting. So that's it. So now we have opened a case, we have assigned it to an arbitrator, we have filled out all of the important information, we have scheduled a calendar item, and that's it. So now at the bottom, the system is just going to keep track of all the time and money that has gone into this case, and if we have received any payments. And so then when you're done, you can just come up here and indicate what date this case was closed, and then you can send out an email with an invoice or an evaluation to your parties. And so that's it. That's from start to finish.
Regarding the cost here, are we going to enter it case by case, or there will be kind of a price list that will derive the information from there to here?
Again, it's up to you. So there are a lot of different ways that you can track time. I'm sorry, a lot of different ways that you can track money. So let me ask you, and how do you anticipate charging for cases?
We are not working on the hourly rate. We're working on a kind of fixed formula for the dispute amounts.
Okay.
Yeah, but Abdullah, I think tracking time is also important, even for that fix fees according to fixed fee like ICC, which is a model we follow. But because you need sometimes to readjust fees according to the time spent. If the time spent exceeded, it means the amount, the fees precised according to the amount in dispute. So you might need to readjust fees to time
Agreed.
spent. Yeah, so
Right.
so you track time anyway.
I think
So it's better to be manual, better than having what they call it.
well, it will still be tracking how much time. So if you look at this case, you can see at the bottom, it's going to tell you how much time you have put into it. So even if you don't charge per hour, it will still tell you how many hours you have put into this case. Because you're right, I think it is important to track how much time you've put into it. And then you can, again, there are a lot of different ways to charge. So you can charge by case type, you can set a fixed fee for every case, you can charge by activity. There are a lot of different ways, and I don't want to get into all of the different options right now. But I'll just say that the default is that the system wants to charge by case type, and if you're doing a flat fee per case, then you can just indicate here if it's, I don't know, 50,000 or however much it's going to be. And then the system will just charge every case at that rate. So that's the default, but again, there are lots of different nuances that we can come in and change according to how you want to charge. So
Sorry.
there you go. All right. Yeah. So there are a bunch of different options in here. And so I mentioned that this system is from start to finish. So at the beginning, you'll be contacted, you will open up a case file, you will have a few hearings and conferences with your parties, and then when you're ready to close the case, then I'm coming over here to the left-hand side now, and I'm going to click email. And as soon as I do that, a new window will pop open, and this will allow me to finish the case. So this will just be sending an email, and it's sending an email to all of the parties. And of course, I could manually type out an email, but what's nice is we can also use these templates over here on the left-hand side. So I can indicate what the final agreement is, or mediation arrangements, or I can send out an evaluation or a survey or an invoice, whatever it is. And I have a bunch of different templates that I can show you just, again, to get things started. So let's say, dear...
Is this application support other language?
It does. I can't be as helpful with templates in other languages, but yes, you can type in whatever characters you need to.
I mean, even the labels and other stuff. Can we have it bilingual, Arabic and English, for example?
We can't, at this point, we can't change the labels. If that's something that you need to do, then we can talk to the programmer about that, because it means that she will need to go in and manually change all of the labels for you.
So it's not a configurable task.
The text is configurable, so everything that you type in, you can use whatever character base you want and type in whatever language you want. But you do not have access to switch the language of the headers at this point.
For example, now in the text that you are writing there, this is from left to right. Arabic is from right to left. So is this supported
right
here, or?
I believe so. We've done a bunch of different tests. I've never done it in Arabic. So how about after we get off the call, can I ask you to go in and make the, try typing how you want. And then if there are any issues with that, let me know. We haven't run into an issue with all of the different languages that we've used. But again, if you do run into any kind of an issue, please let me know right away. Let me just say, whenever
you mean
you have a
we will be
question,
having a demo access for ourselves to access the application and go through it?
exactly. Yes.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any
Yeah.
client who use Arabic language in this system?
Only a couple. Yes, we have some, but only a couple. Not very many at this point.
Can I know who is this client? If it's possible. If not, it's okay.
All I can tell you is that they're based out of Los Angeles, and it's a community mediation center. So it's not somebody who's in private practice.
Oh.
It's just a community center that's trying to serve the Arabic community in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. What was I showing you? Oh, right. Okay. So anyway, so to close out a case, you will send them an email, and you see right now I'm typing in first name and last name, and that's indicating to the system that when I send out this email, I want it to plug in their first name and last name. We can tell them, let's see, I can tell them, thank you, do it like this. Thank you for your payment of, and then I'll just again put in this amount, and then it's telling the system to go out to the case file and sum up all of the payments and put the total paid here. We are still, oops, balance due. Let's see, this is, I don't know, this is in summary of our meetings. And then this, as soon as I put all items, this is going to show them a summary of all of their calendar items, phone calls, etc. And so this really can be a complete system that will show them all of their meetings to date, all of their upcoming meetings, all of their payments made. So I'm trying to keep this really simple right now, just so we don't spend a lot of time on it. But I just wanted to show you some of the different features that are available here, so that you can see it really is designed to manage all of the different aspects of your mediation and arbitration program.
This email text now, can I at any time just save it like as a template so I can use it?
You got it.
Use it later.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And I would be happy to walk through that with you, or again, so we can schedule as many trainings as you like, or you always have access to the help system. So that's, you just click this help button, and then it will just walk you through Mail Center. Here's how you create an email template. So yeah. So yes, you always have access to change it, and if you ever have questions about things like creating a new template, you can contact me or just use the help system for reference. Yeah. And if you ever want to send us an email directly, you just click that feedback link, and then this sends a note to everyone in our office, to myself, as well as the programmers, as well as some other customer service people. And so then one of us will get back to you right away. Yeah, so that's your very fast and furious overview of the system. Are there any, oh, let me show you a couple of other things, if that's okay. So first, I told you earlier that you can change what you're seeing here. So you can change these fields. So you do that really simply just by clicking Select Fields. And then you just decide what's important to you. What information do you want to see? I usually like to have this box checked, waiting for, because then it tells me really quickly, you know, hey, what is this case waiting for? In other words, what is it that I need to do today? And so as soon as I update,
For example, this field that you mentioned, waiting for, you know, if, from time to time, I have to change it for something different. So is there any log for this information here where, for example, in Saturday, 17th June, I'm waiting for the admin call and I'm waiting for everybody to confirm. After 2 days, I'm waiting for example, the arbitrator to get back to me about his opinion after the call. So the log of waiting for field, is it there that I can track it or?
Right. Yes, you can track it there. This is more of an advanced feature, but let me just mention, for some of those things that you were talking about, we might want to set up something called deadlines, where it
by the way, this is not a requirement at the moment. I'm just asking and exploring the feature of the system. That's it.
Sure, of course. So again, this is more of an advanced feature, so this would be down the road that we could talk about this when you're more familiar with the system. But there is an option called deadlines, and that would just show us, what's an example? Okay, here's an example. If parties have 30 days to file a note with you after they have received notice of arbitration, then the system can just start a countdown. And as it gets close to that 30-day deadline, it can send a note out to the parties, or it can send a note to you saying, hey, you only have 3 days to reach this deadline. And then you can have a follow-up. So if they're over their deadline, then it can send them another note saying, hey, you've missed your deadline. Here's what you have to do now. So, so with your office, if there are certain deadlines like that, certain time periods that people have to meet, then let me know and we can set those up in the system so that these deadlines can be tracking in the background. And, you know, for some people, that's a really useful feature. For some people, it's just an unnecessary distraction. And as I get to know your office a little bit better, or you can just decide what it is that will work the best for you. I was going to show you one more thing. Oh, right. Okay. So up here in the settings menu, this is where you get to customize everything. The top half, I've shown you a couple things. This is where you can customize the fields that we created. So for instance, we created all of these different status options. You can edit them, delete them, add to them, you know, just come through and make them your own. But what's really exciting is then we have down here these custom fields. And this is where you can begin to create your own fields from scratch. So if I create a custom case field, then it will show up in my case screen. As an example, what's an example? I don't know. Test contract field. And so that's my question. Then I decide, how do I want people to answer it? So maybe I want them to type text or to enter a box. Yeah, we'll let them type something in, and I'll have another field saying contract received on, oh bother. There we go. Contract received on, and I'll indicate the date. Okay. So what I'm showing you is that you have the ability to add fields very simply. It's very quick and easy to add in whatever fields you need to track for your system. Okay, so I just added those fields in. I'll hit continue, submit changes. We'll close out this screen.
Added field, it will be cascaded on all cases, or it will be case by case, you can add specific field?
So, good question. The default is that they show up in all cases. So there they are now, test contract field. Here is my new field, and here's the date. Okay, so the default is that they show up in all cases, but there's another layer of complexity here where there might be certain fields that make sense for certain cases, but not others. So this is really common in community programs where they might be doing divorce cases as well as landlord cases. And you just don't need the same types of fields for both of those cases. So for instance, divorce cases, you might want to add a bunch of fields about custody, parenting plans, selling the house, that type of stuff. And so then you can indicate, gosh, I just want these fields to only show up in my divorce cases. And then you can have a bunch of other fields like, I don't know, housing.
You mean by selecting the type of the case, I can personalize the field there?
Yep. Okay. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So again, for some people, they think that's really helpful. For other people, it's just another layer of complexity that they don't need. And so there are a lot of different features in this program and a lot of different options. And so what I will try to do is just show you all of the different options, and then you can decide what works for you.
Okay. As so Dr. Mustafa mentioned about the phases that we have, first is filing the case, then having the admin call, then maybe assigning the arbitrator, then fixing the time for hearing before the final the award and final award. So these kind of phases, how I can reflect it in the system? Is it about through the status there, or is there any way that I can clearly mention the phases that I have to follow?
I think status would probably make the most sense. If you want, you can create another field that just says phases, and you can indicate what all those different phases are. It's up to you. You might decide to do both. So, you know, whatever it is, this would be phase A, B, C, D, E. So you can decide. You can create your own field to track the different phases, or you can put those phases in the status options.
Okay. Is there any validation based on a specific field? For example, I have that's now the phase field, for example. For sure, if I'm still in the admin call, before I decide and assign the arbitrator, I can't fix any scheduling for hearing sessions. So is there any way that can do this validation, that there is no way to set up a hearing sessions in the calendar before I assign the arbitrator?
Oh, interesting. Well, yes, because if you were to try to schedule a calendar, if you were to try to schedule something and you didn't have a staff person assigned, it wouldn't even let you save it. So as you can see here, it's required. So yes, there would be a validation. It wouldn't allow you to schedule a meeting until you had a staff person assigned.
And this can I get kind of what they call it, a pop-up screen to tell me that you have to do this to get that, or the
right? So so for instance, if I were to try to schedule this right now, I think I've already selected him, so it's not really going to work. But if I were to try to schedule this without having the right information saved, then it will give me a pop-up screen. So it would say, invalid, staff is required, please go back and fix, I think is the message that you would get.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me recommend a point. I think there's only one person that has access. And so if you can add as many staff people as you like by going into Edit, Staff, and then you can add new people. You just want to make sure that they're an admin who has full access. And then you can add in whatever person you want to test the system and just use their email and then give them a password that's at least 6 characters long. And so at this point, why don't I turn the system back over to you and say, add as many people that you think would like to use the system to go in there and test it out. This might be your IT people or people that would work on your staff. And
Can you
get in
open
there
the
and play
access
with
level
it.
there?
I'm sorry, what?
Okay. The drop list for the access level, can I see it? Yeah, please.
Mm-hmm.
And this is fixed in the system. I can't change or add something more here.
Yep, you go right here to staff access levels, and then you can add additional options you need. Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
So
perfect.
yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, so you can set up, yep, you can set up the access levels that you want people to have. And yeah, so play with the system, please. You can reach me at claire@mediate.com. I think you all have my email address at this point. So just email me with any questions and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can.
Okay. Dr. Mustafa.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you have any question here? Something that we have to mention?
No. I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm suggesting 2 track here, and let me know if it's okay or not. First one is we will go through this application once you give us the access to it. Second, I believe if we can share with you, and I have to check with Dr. Mustafa and the team if it's shareable or not. The process that we are planning to use, so you can have more understanding about our process. Then you can tell us, is this applicable or not? What do you think,
Sure,
Doctor?
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Okay. Is there any
Great.
other thing that we have to see in the system before we wrap up?
I don't think so. Right. I think at this point you should have enough information to get you started. Email me with any questions or visit the help center for any reference questions, and then I will just wait to hear from you.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you very
Great.
much.
Thank you so much for taking the time, and I will email you those documents and the recording either later today or first thing tomorrow.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And enjoy your evening. Goodbye.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.